Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Over Calgary. My name is Conrad Krausert, and the Flames cannot hold a lead to save their life, and they fall in a shootout to the Ottawa Senators in a game they led 2-0. It's beginning to become a broken record when I'm hosting these shows that the Calgary Flames lose. And I'm incorrect. They led 2-1 after the first period. That's the kind of day I've been having, folks. But once again, the Flames lead after 20 and cannot hold on to a lead. In a game that is very much a stoppable force versus a movable object, the Flames found a way to lose. Of course, you'll be saying off in internet land, but the Calgary Flames got a point. Shouldn't that be enough? I certainly am not in the mindset that a point is a good result for this Calgary Flames team. And it should probably get to a point where I come to accept that. As many people are prone to point out, I'm probably the most pro Team Tank host that the Game Over Network has. I'm even more Team Tank than Matt was over when he joined Game Over Toronto in the last game prior to today. But again, I'm just not happy with the effort I'm seeing out of these Calgary Flames. And as I said previously, and I'm going to probably beat this point into the ground over the course of the season, the Flames last year had gumption. They had give it and go, get up and go, give your full effort, not worry about the result. This set of Calgary Flames has nothing. Have they been starting to score more goals than one a game? Yes. Have they played drastically better? I wouldn't argue so. It's been rough. And as much as I want to be trying to stay as positive as I can on this show, I don't know. The Calgary Flames needed to come to this game if they want to stay relevant in this season and score 7 or 8 goals against an Ottawa team that can't stop a beach ball. And they put up 3 and found a way to lose. So I should probably be jumping up and down, buying my pre-order on a Gavin McKenna Calgary Flames jersey. But I've said it time and time again, if this team is abysmal to watch, that's not enjoying this ride of Team Tank. But I think this Calgary Flames unit, if they get to continuing, the results is going to be we're going to be drafting in the top 3 for the first time. And I'm okay with that. I just wish the games were funner to watch. But of course, we'll head in through our regular schedule, starting with the review of today's game. Shout out to Matt C saying 1 point too many or 1 point not enough. I'll answer that when we get through the review. How does that sound? You open the scoring with a guy that has been kind of the whipping bearer for a lot of Flames fandom, Igor Sharangovich. He scores with power play time that I don't think is overly deserved, but I'm happy to see him get that goal, his second of the season's assist to Farabee and Uyghur. So seeing time on power play unit number 2, where we'd previously seen Michael Backlund and Blake Coleman on that unit, see a little bit different shuffled up unit, and We'll talk about the roster changes later on today, but there was talk that Igor Sharangovich was going to get benched once again, but no, he is in the center, getting time on power play number 2. Maybe starting to turn things around a little bit. It was a great wrist shot, and it's the shot that we've seen Igor make so many times when he is full of confidence, but I did not expect it today. However, this is also against the Sens. And Linus Ullmark hasn't been stopping many pucks, so maybe that's a good confidence builder for Igor. But on the same power play, the Flames can't hold the zone, and Nazem Kadri gets beat. Jonathan Huberdeau not strong enough on the puck. Lars Eller backhands it past a sprawling Devin Cooley, who gets the start today, his second start of the season. And for what advantage you got on your power play, it is instantly erased on the very same power play. So it was a 4-minute high sticking. Good job by Braden Bahal, making the nose have a little bit of a bleed. Okay, of course, that's maybe looking at things like this is the WWE, and then he pulled out a blade and made himself cut. But, as I say, the power play giveth, the power play taketh away, and we're back to a tied game. But the Sens take another penalty and put the Calgary Flames on the power play once again. This time it is unit number 1 scoring, and a guy who, in the description of this video, I said was going to be scratched. Nope, he did not end up getting scratched. Instead, it's Connor Zary sitting and watching from the rafters. But Matt Coronato scores his third, a power play goal, assist to Frost and Anderson. They're crediting it as a wrist shot, according to the stat track. But that was just a bunch of people in front of the net, all going for the same puck, and I guess Matt Coronato was the last to touch it. Not going to complain. A guy that I think should not have even been in consideration for being scratched today gets rewarded, and congratulations to Matt. But it's kind of weird that you're Ryan Huska and you think this guy needs to be scratched, but you're also playing him on power play number 1. Those things seem a little discordant in my mind. But, you know, the wheel of Ryan Huska's mind continues to twist and turn. Flames lead through the first period. Ottawa actually winning in the shot category in the first, 13-11. Devin Cooley made some big saves, and I actually thought played very well throughout this game. And we'll talk about that as we go on. Second period saw a little bit of a more even period. We saw the interference to Blake Coleman, but also the embellishment to Nick Cousins in the second. I think that embellishment call needs to be a more common phrase for referees in the NHL, because, as I said on the Flames broadcast, Nick Cousins went down way too easily for being an NHL player with the amount of contact he took from Blake Coleman. Was it interference? Yes, he contacted a man without the puck, but did Nick Cousins need to do the dive roll as if the secret sniper had snuck into the building? I don't think so. So good call by the referee. Doesn't lead to anything, but just kind of the one thing I wanted to make note of in the second. Calgary once again trailing in shots 9-10 in the second period, but they go into the third with a lead, and if you've been paying attention to the stats, the Flames don't want to have a lead going into the third. We want to be the comeback kids. No, we don't. We don't want it. We just can't win hockey games, ladies and gentlemen. But the Flames 1-2 after coming into the third period with a lead on this early season, 10 games in, or 12 games in. But, bad stat to have going on. Starts off poorly with the Flames' fourth line getting trapped in their own zone, unable to get the clear. Eventually comes back to Artem Zub at the point. His wrist shot has eyes and has a screen in front of the net. Tie game assist to Eller and Batherson. This was one of the weaker games I've seen from the Calgary Flames' fourth line, and I think outside of Justin Kirkland, I wasn't really impressed with anyone on that fourth line today. It really wasn't the best performance, but we can't expect that out of the fourth line every game like we have been having to this point. It was nice to see some of the other lines step up, but it was a little rough to see that fourth line in the third period lead to the game tying goal. Then good hard work in the neutral zone by the Calgary Flames lead to a takeaway. Jonathan Huberdeau and Nazem Kadri play give and go, and Naz finds the back of the twine and immediately pointed back to Jonathan Huberdeau. Just a great back check by the Flames forward lead to a turnover and punish one of the weaker starting goaltenders in the NHL. As I said, stoppable object, movable force. Kind of how this game felt. But I really thought the Flames, with only 12 minutes, could maybe play well enough to take home 2 points, regardless of where that puts us in the standings. I thought the Flames played well enough to get there. But just some brutal change by the Flames. Jake Bean lets a guy get in behind him. You have no leverage to stop someone's movement if they're behind you. What does it do? Leads to a Jake Sanderson shot and a goal. Tim Stützle with the assist, as did Spence. I know Tokay number one's going to chirp in here and mention the former CEO of the Calgary Flames. But as done as I am with the Daniil Miramanov experience, who now seems to be lighting up the AHL, might be the best defenseman in the AHL right now, according to friend of the show, Mike Gould. I'm also done with Jake Bean. It's just, despite the fact, I think he was only -1 today. Yeah, only -1. But it just doesn't make sense why he's here. Braden Bahal, I trust a heck of a lot more than Jake Bean. But, like, that should be Hunter Brustevich. That should be literally any number of guys that the Wranglers have that are under the age of 24. Because that's a play that a replacement level NHL player that is a defenseman makes 10 times out of 10. Maintain your leverage between yourself and the goalie, but Jake Bean just lets his man get in behind him. Is it a good shot, good goal? Yes. But it's just such poor play. Overtime solves nothing despite a penalty taken by Rasmus Anderson. So we go to the shootout. Luckily, it didn't take us a million rounds like we've seen in the preseason and regular season against Ottawa. Starts with Batherson. Shoots from the hash, and it's just a nice shot. Beats Cooley to the stick side. Justin Kirkland goes in, uses a signature move. As I said, only stopped by goaltenders once. Stopped by the inside of the iron today. Tim Stützle, great hands, good move. There's a reason he is kind of the current heartbeat of this Sens organization without Brady Tkachuk. And Morgan Frost went to that quick to slow move right off the pad. Lance Ullmark, the Calgary Flames fall to the Ottawa Senators. Final score 4-3 in a shootout. Now, if I was fully on Team Tank, I probably would be celebrating this and saying, oh, but we should have lost it in regulation. You know what? I thought this was a better effort from the Calgary Flames than we've seen in a long time. Is it an effort I'm happy with? No, as you can see clearly from how I've been acting on this show. But it was better. Is it good? Not by any stretch of the imagination, but it is better. But with that said, we'll head on to period number 2. No, we don't have too many people in chat because you're probably resting up, using today to make sure that you are able to go and party tomorrow, hopefully, when the Blue Jays play to win the World Series. But if you're in here and you're liking this video, or if you're watching when it's published as a regular video, please hit that like and subscribe button. It does so much to help us in this world driven by algorithms. The more buttons you press, the quicker we get to go see more people, and we get a more active chat, and we get to commiserate or celebrate our misery together. Commiserate, shall we say. So hit like, hit subscribe, share to your friends, share to your family, share to your worst enemy. I don't care where the view comes from. We just really want to continue to grow this channel. So please like, subscribe, continue commenting. And hey, even if you're in chat, if you want to come in 24 hours and just leave us a comment, that certainly helps. But our period number 2, what did I have written down here? Oh, yeah. Too many in the middle 6. The Calgary Flames, even though we are trending downwards with our results, we can't leave the mushy middle out at all. Because the Calgary Flames have about 9 players that you could say on an average NHL team are the middle 6 forwards. And not enough of them are centers. So let's talk about the middle 6 winger problem. Obviously today you saw Connor Zary scratched after he just signed a contract extension. That's exactly what you want to see out of somebody you just signed. And you've seen struggles getting a guy like Matt Coronato in the lineup. We've had Igor Sharangovich in and out of the lineup. Blake Coleman is actually playing like a middle 6 forward instead of a bottom 3 forward, like I've been criticizing him for most of the season. But this mushy middle of players that are maybe at league average is it's making some of these roster decisions a little bit more difficult. Now you have to remember the Flames are only carrying 22 skaters right now. They have the availability to call someone up out of the Calgary Wrangler system. But hey, why would you want to contaminate someone with the stink of this Calgary Flames roster if you don't need to? Matt C saying middle 6 is generous. Yeah. Because that is where we're at. Would Calgary's first line players be first line players on a top 20 NHL franchise right now? I'd argue that outside of Jonathan Huberdeau, probably not. So, you know, is what it is. But it is causing some conflict for this coaching staff, obviously. Because as much as you want to continue to give these guys time, I don't think playing Connor Zary as your 4th line right winger is helping the player getting bounced back. And yeah, good point by Matt C in the chat. Martin Pospisil still isn't healthy. And once he's back, he gets thrown into this mix as well. Because today you saw Igor Sharangovich play as a center, which I thought wasn't the worst decision. He comes out a -1 today. And despite the fact that he had the goal. Matt Coronato, as I said, had some jump, scores a goal, but still comes in at a -2. There's a lot more question marks than answers for this coaching staff. And it's becoming way tougher to argue for any of these players that they deserve more ice time than they're getting. And I think the call is, or the fire and smoke is starting to get closer to Craig Conroy's door. You heard Elliot, or was it Elliot, or who was it that said the Flames don't want to move Kadri? I think it was Francis. But Eric Francis, yeah, saying the Flames don't want to move Nazem Kadri until after his 1000th games. Because heaven forbid we waste the money and marketing we put into designing those 1K shirts for Naz. But yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how this team juggles maintaining positivity throughout the lineup if they have to rotate guys out of that middle lineup. Comment here. I've got comments from Anand, which I will read in a bit. Anand, thank you for joining. I know you're over at CJ today, so enjoy that. Not sure how many he took, but the NHL saying Sharky didn't win a face-off. Does Stat Trick have that available already? Because I'm been trying to find that myself. Face off. I'll figure that one out here in a sec. But yeah, it was not a good night for Sharky. But had to put him at center tonight. Obviously, I think that's probably a better situation when you're putting Connor Zary in at center. I think he's the better of the two. Taking faceoffs, yeah, I can't find it quickly here on faceoff or Stat Trick. And then you're saying mind-boggling they scratched Zary tonight. They scratched him, so they didn't scratch. They kept their promise to Matt Coronato to not scratch him twice in a row. Thus, you needed to move Sharky into center ice, which is not where he excels. That was the rationale I heard on the radio from Derek Wills. I don't agree with it. So, according to Daily or Money Puck, Igor Sharangovich only took 6 faceoffs all day, but lost all 6. So there we go. I found the stat for you. I can do this hosting thing okay. But yeah, rough day. I think that's a poor decision. I don't think Igor Sharangovich is a center in the NHL. So that kind of leaves us in, I guess, Connor Zary, you're a center for the rest of the season, forever and ever, amen. Matt, that was actually what I have written down for our next period. Is if the Flames are going to move Nazem Kadri, what in the heck are we going to do when we get rid of Naz? Because let's go to that. Let's go to period number 3. Let's do that. Because boy, oh boy, without Nazem Kadri, the Calgary Flames will be in a lot of trouble, as they have nobody down the middle. I like Justin Kirkland. Do I like third line Justin Kirkland? I don't even like saying that a bit. Do I like second line Michael Backlund? We all know what I think of that. I think he's a fourth liner. I think he's actually playing too high up the lineup as it is. Do I think that the Flames will acquire probably a middle six center in one of the inevitable trades that involves the two big name talents? I hope not. I hope Nazem Kadri and Rasmus Andersson, and there's now more smoke brewing in the trade Mackenzie Weegar conversation. I don't think you trade both Anderson and Weegar. I think you trade one of them. And I think his name is Rasmus Andersson, but there's more smoke growing in that camp, so I have to acknowledge it. But you're not probably getting your franchise center in one of those trades. Unless, of course, you trade with somebody and they're real bad, you get another shot in the Gavin McKenna lottery. It's possible. But the Flames don't have a number 1 center. We have a very good number 2 center who was forced to be a number 1 center on this team and score 3 goals in the first 12 games. But it's just going to be a lot of struggle at center. And if you want to be a successful team in the NHL, center is the second most important position. if you look how the Kings using the depth that Anze Kopitar allowed them to have for their dynasty run. Look at Chicago. Look at the Penguins. You don't need just one elite center. You need two. And you could argue that probably the Panthers are the only one that truly don't have two elite centers. And they've just won the last two Stanley Cups, but also they played bully puck and just had more body left to give. But if we want to look at that team up Highway A2 that I drove halfway up last weekend, they have two elite centers that they can use at center. They choose not to, and then they have a very good Ryan Nugent-Hopkins who can fill in that second center role. The Flames don't have that. And when they trade Nazem Kadri, because I don't think it's an if, I think it's a when. I think that's before the trade deadline. It's going to be real slim pickings down the middle for the Calgary Flames. But hey, we got 4 more games till Nazem Kadri skates for his 1,000th game. And then afterwards, if the report is to be believed, Nazem Kadri may not be a Calgary Flame for much longer. Whether that's right or wrong, I won't lay my judgment here today. But we will truly have to see. And I don't understand one other thing about the center depth. I understand that the Flames don't think Sam Honzek has earned the ability to be a center at the NHL level because he didn't play as a center in the A last year, but he came up through the minors as a center. Is it not worth, with how abysmal this team has been playing, to give him a shot? Be a third line center? Or hey, I'm okay with the experiment being, okay, Sam, you're going to play fourth line center for a game. Just so we can shift Justin Kirkland into that third line role. Just to see what we've got. Because at this point, you are not making the playoffs. You're not making a push to the playoffs. We are not the St. Louis Blues on their Cinderella run. But what do we have to lose at this point? He's not been the name that's been talked about moving down. What harm do we have in trying Sam Honzek at center? Other than the mental damage that we're doing to every single player and fan of this team every time the puck drops. But is it the worst potential move to see if that development for 18 years of his life, a little hyperbole there, but it's not worth trying when you're the last place team in the NHL? I certainly am not thinking that it's the worst thing to do. But as I said, I do have an event to go to. Going to go do a community skate with the Calgary Inclusive Hockey Association. And you might be seeing some more of them around this channel, around the Game Over network. But hey, not saying anything conclusive just yet. My question for you guys as we head into our overtime period is, who sits tomorrow, or who sits in the next game? That game, of course, being on Thursday, or rather, today is Thursday. Saturday, when the Flames have the early game against the Preds, who sits and eats popcorn? Is it going to be punishing Matt Coronato for being -2 but scoring a goal, which is what you want your goal scorers to do? Is it going to be Igor Sharangovich for playing center while you're not a center? Is it going to be Sam Honzek because he's the youngest man on this roster, despite the fact that he is doing incredible in the role that's been thrust upon him and killing penalties. He's been real good doing that. Matt C in the chat saying Lomberg, I've shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic if you select any one of the three guys that's in that fourth line. Moving Connor Zary on the fourth line is a failed experiment. It is not conducive to this team improving. I think you have to almost potentially scratch Kirkland. No, that's not true. I think you actually have to scratch Adam Klapka. If you had gun to my head and I had to make a decision, I think it has to be Adam Klapka. I think you have to move Kirkland into that third line center. I think you have to try Sam Honzek. And whether that move comes with you moving Igor Sharangovich back to the wing, playing Connor Zary at center once again, I don't know how it happens, but I think that would be my move. If I could get into the mind of the Huskamaniac. And speaking of the Huska family, I did get to see his son play in the WHL Cup last weekend. Not bad. Not bad. Kid's got some mitts, even though it was in the third, fourth place game. And he was like the late addition that came because he's located in Calgary and could drive up to Red Deer. As long as it's not Jake Bean. Yeah, I guess we didn't really address the defensive side of this team today. Because they didn't blow it as much as they have in the previous two games. And the report now coming out that it was illness that led to the roster changes on the back end. If that's true and Zayne Parekh was sick... Oh, I didn't put on the overtime. If it is true that Zayne Parekh is sick, and that's why he was held out of the game today in favor of Braden Pahal, that I can accept and understand. But if it was a scratching, I don't understand that at all. Once again, the Flames refused to play Kevin Ball and Zayne Parekh together. Despite Kevin Ball being the one they trusted with Zayne Parekh through the whole preseason. I still don't get it at this point, why that isn't the change to move Kevin Ball down with Zayne Parekh and try and allow him to have some more minutes. The life of a Calgary Flames fan in the year 2025. I'll go back and read some of Anand's questions here as well. A few positive. Cooley was great. Yes. Devin Cooley certainly performing admirably in his two appearances, and I think he's kind of solidified that backup job for all of his detractors, myself included. Probably a lot of the Calgary Flames front office and coaching staff also listed on that list of detractors. I think that he definitely is continued to earn a job. Don't know what's happening, but don't know what's been happening, but it's not working. And the 2 power play goals. Yeah, the power play finally starting to work, even though Zayne Parekh was not a part of it. It was pretty okay. I still think there needs to be more work. I think Frost and Farabee need to be on the same unit. Which is unit number 2. I think you keep Blake Coleman and Michael Backlund as far away from that second unit as you can. It'll be interesting to see if they insert Connor Zary, if he's right back onto either unit 1 or unit 2 when he comes back. Yeah, it's another tough loss for these Calgary Flames as they continue their pursuit of their highest overall draft pick. As I said, it is a early game on Saturday. Puck drop is 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time, which will mean a 3:15 start for myself, and Anand will be down in High River, so it'll just be myself again Unless I can line up a guest, I'm trying to find a guest for that one. But then when they are back on Sunday for the second part of the doubleheader, when they take on the Flyers, it will be myself and Anand bringing you that one. For all of the voices across the Game Over network, including Maud, who would have joined us if not for their partner was just coming out of the hospital. So Maud, I hope everything went well. Maud is the one who has been designing our thumbnails. So big shout out to Maud for doing that, even though her team is only doing a weekly podcast sort of deal. But that's all I've got for today. I gotta head out. I gotta get over all the way down south. I live up north in Calgary. I gotta get all the way down to a rink down south for the Stick and Puck today. So thank you so much for tuning in. For all of our friends, Matt C, Tokay number 1, Anand. Thought I saw someone else, but I can't see it in chat here now. For everyone that's tuned in, hopefully there will be more positives for when this team takes on the Preds and Flyers this weekend. We'll see you then, Flames fans.